Hello, and a very, very warm welcome to you, a nutritional agricultural scientist. Wow, now that's a loaded term, and I would want to know more about it. But for the viewers who want to know Namita better, she's an agricultural scientist who's just relocated herself from Australia. And for over 2 decades, her focus has been to understand the relationship between soil, plants, and the food we eat. And she has been helping people to understand the science behind the way we consume our food and to make the correct choices. Not the easy choices, but the correct choices.
That's
Because
right.
we sometimes get fooled away with the easy choices. But no, we're talking about the very, very sophisticated and clear choices which are going to help us reduce risks of diseases and help us live a healthy lifestyle. I think the lockdown and the times that we have been recently has ignited the passion in us to understand more about our body, look inwards, and understand more about the basic fundamental ingredient, which is food, Namita. So,
Yes.
I would like to begin today's discussion firstly by asking you to tell my viewers a little bit about yourself. You relocated from Australia, and how did you think of studying the science behind nutrition and agriculture? So the focus is more to understand you first, and then what you're going to tell us. So over to
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me today. And that introduction, I better live up to it, Vaijanti. Sounded like a lot, but by background, I'm an agricultural scientist. My husband's an environmental scientist, and my journey with health began because of our son Joshua. He's going to be 25 this year. But when we were in Australia, Joshua was born with severe asthma and eczema and put onto steroid based medication. And like all parents, we wanted to get him off this medication, and we were trying everything, trust me. And even back then, you had health gurus, and we were really confused which way to go. And that's when we were introduced to this team of agricultural scientists, food technologists, who started to explain the science behind food. And we decided that's the route we're going to follow because, you can't defy science. You walk off a first floor balcony, don't do it, but you are going to fall. And we started to implement these changes in our lives, in Joshua's life. And by the time Josh was 7, we could take him off all medication. He's grown to a height of 6 feet plus and into sports like rowing and swimming. I mean,
Wow.
I'm sharing with you, yeah, because normally asthmatics don't enjoy that, that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And also for us, I'm 51, both my husband and I, and we CrossFit at least 5 days a week. And we started to realize that this way of eating, this lifestyle is sustainable, and started to help family and friends with it. And that's the journey, and that's why we've been focused on this. And I was really excited that I could come on today and share some of this information with all of you.
So,
Yeah, so that's
Namita, I'm intruding, but you chose to be an agricultural scientist.
yeah.
How different it is from a nutritionist? How different it is from a dietitian? What are the main focus areas? If in quick,
So,
understand. Yeah.
Vajanti, I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian. I'd like to call myself a health coach. And I think where the agricultural part comes in is this entire focus on, soil. And look, if your soil doesn't have enough nutrition, the plants are not going to get it. And
Absolutely.
that has helped me a lot in understanding, okay, this entire thing about we've been eating food since the inception of mankind, but something's gone wrong. And what
Absolutely.
has? And that's been a large focus. So here the idea is not to give up on food. Look, food has to be tasty, don't you agree? And if
Absolutely.
it's a punishment, none of us are going to go down that path. But how to
Absolutely.
tweak your choices? If you've made all these changes, commercialized agriculture, genetic modification, hybridization, if you've changed all of that, then you've got to learn how to eat differently. We can't continue to do the same thing and expect different
Absolutely.
results. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's
So
the reason, I want to begin today's conversation, though I had a different series lined up for you. But because we're talking about, the hybrid growth and how the soil is injected and how the fruits are injected and this total organic culture, which is there. The
yeah.
organic grains, is organic vegetables. How organic they are in reality, Namita, is something that I
Yeah.
question. And how safe is it? If you can start by this.
Sure. Look, I think organic is good. Organic is really good because organic is clean, compared to commercial. Because the main thing with organic is you can literally call it chemical safe because, the level of pesticides and looking at natural plant based ways of saving your crops, growing them. So that way, organic is good. And you have enough certification today that if you look out for it, then it's good organic, because otherwise, yeah, there's always a question mark. But just because it's organic doesn't mean that it has enough nutrition. Because, like I said, if the soil doesn't have enough nutrition, whether I grow a crop organically or inorganically, my fruit and vegetables are not going to have enough nutrition. So I would say if you're choosing organic, it's good because it's clean. But is it sufficient in terms of nutrition is a question mark, because I don't think any farmer is growing 2 crops a year. Vajanti, you and I seem to be from the same age group. When we studied geography, a farmer grew 2 crops, left the land fallow, and then allowed the land to rejuvenate.
Absolutely.
A
Absolutely.
farmer can't afford to do that now because it is commercial. I mean, the demand is so high. And you and I, as consumers, also want things that look better, taste better, sweeter, seedless. Now, the minute you start going down that path, nutrition is compromised. Okay, so
So
is
are
it
you
right or
trying
wrong?
to tell me that yes, organic is good, organic is clean, but it's not necessary that it is full of nutrients?
Yeah, it's not. It's not necessary. They're two different things. So with organic, you're looking at, okay, so the soil should not have been sprayed with synthetics and artificial chemicals and things for the last 5 years. If I can prove that, I can get an organic certification, and that's good. I mean, we don't have nasty chemicals landing up on our plate. But does it have enough inherent nutrition is a question mark. Yeah.
Wow. And yes, before I go on to the next question, something which is in similar is the culture of microgreens,
Yeah.
which is all over. What is your take on microgreens? And again, are they nutrient rich?
Look, again, it depends on how they are grown. See, your source matters. Okay, if the source, and I'm very big on that. If your soil, if the source doesn't have enough nutrition, doesn't matter what you're growing, how you're trying to grow it, magically the plant can't have enough vitamins and minerals. Yeah. And my take on all of this is you've got to eat a variety. You've got to eat a variety. You've got to introduce your body back to a variety of colors, of, vegetables, fruit. I look at families, and most families will eat the same vegetables day in and day out, month after month, year after year, and that's about it. And the minute you do that, your gut biome, it changes, your gut bacteria changes. So we need to increase the variety, and you've got to look at the source. We've all got to become, equipped enough to look at and ask questions. Okay, what's the source? Where's this coming from? Yeah.
But then, Namita, how is it practical? We are consumers. Now, the lockdown, especially now in this change scenario from the last 5 months, we have these communities who are coming to multi-stories and putting up the carts once a week
Yeah.
where we pick up the vegetables. We don't know what the source are.
Yeah.
Usually, the consumers are just restricted as to what rate the vegetables are coming in. Is
Yeah.
the market price high or the market price low? And and then they don't even want to go right now into the main hub of the market area,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Sabzi Bazaar and pick up. So under such circumstances, how do we determine as to how healthy the soil is, what is the
Yeah.
orientation of from where vegetables are coming in?
Yeah.
So in such a tight scenario, what is
Yeah.
the best that we can do?
Look, what I'd suggest is with whatever that's available, still choose a variety, with whatever is available. And one thumb rule for your vegetables, especially, don't overcook them. Pressure cooking them, blending them, sending them through the mixie. What happens is these are good carbohydrates, high fiber. The minute you overcook them and you start to send them, like tomato soup, pressure cook it, send it through the mixie, you've taken a good carbohydrate with high fiber and converted it to just simple sugars. So don't overcook your vegetables, at least with what you're getting now. Eat them right, but yeah, cook it. Put all your masalas. Masalas are good, but just don't overcook them and try and make the most of what you get. But yes, the awareness has to be there that we're not getting enough. There are nutritional gaps in our diet.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I have quite a few questions already coming my way, but yes,
Okay.
viewers, just keep your patience. I'm going to be asking them. There are lots, many coming. Yes, I can see. But I would want to ask the primary question first, which is why do we have to look at food, Namita, from a scientific way? I mean, like, this is absolutely a new philosophy. I've never looked at my food in a scientific manner. Suddenly I'll have all the chemical formulas breaking down there. Oh
Yeah.
no, 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 I can't do that. So
Yeah.
yes, lame, we will look how the food is in appearance and we will dig into it. But
Yeah.
what's your take as a scientist to look into the food scientifically, Namita?
Yeah. Look, that's a good question. So it's not that complicated, actually. You know, what it really means is that all of us want health, and we just don't want this, jugaad kind of health, just not falling sick. My definition of health for the longest time was if I don't fall sick, I'm healthy. But obviously, that's not true. What I'm looking for is what we call optimal health, where you have energy, stamina, I mean, till the day you're on this planet. I'm 51, 10 years from today when I'm 61. I don't want to be dependent on anyone, and I'm sure it resonates with all of us, right? But I've got to do something about it today. So the food that we eat serves as a fuel. I mean, it's energy, it gives our body nutrition. How do we make our choices? So this is the simplest thing to look at. Our bodies are made up of millions of cells, right? Millions and trillions of cells. If we can look at the health of one cell, if we understand how to make one cell healthy, then we can propagate it. And for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to turn all of you into cell scientists. And there are three parts of a cell I want you to remember, because I'm going to keep referring to it when we talk about different food groups. One is the outer layer, it's called the cell membrane. I want you to remember it as a mosquito net. A mosquito net has holes in it, prevents mosquitoes from coming through, but fresh air comes in. Then there's the mitochondria. These are little spindle shaped objects where food burns. Just remember them as furnaces. Okay, so we've got the mosquito net and the furnace. And then there's the nucleus with the genetic material, the color of your eyes, the color of your hair, your height, etc. So just remember that as a smiley face. So can you remember that? Three things: the mosquito net, the furnace, and the smiley.
Absolutely. Wow. I
Yeah.
wish I knew you back then when I was drawing my diagram in school. I would have surely got a 10 on a 10, Namita. But yes,
Not
okay.
today.
Oh, okay, fine. So you were talking about the connection between science and food. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you look at, your food groups, we all know the food groups. There are carbohydrates, there are fats, there are proteins, vitamins, minerals, water, fiber. I mean, we all know it. This is something we studied in school. But when it comes on your plate, you've got to have the awareness of, have I got the formula right? There's no point following diet charts, but it's good to understand an overall formula. What's going on my plate, and to call a carbohydrate and a protein, and not just eat and then look at it only when you fall sick. Okay, because if you have a general awareness, and I say this, you eat about 21 meals minimum in a week. If you get about 15 right, you're good to go. Yeah, but the questions I had was, how do I know what's right? Can someone please tell me what's right? I mean, what are the parameters I look at? I was just following the two simple parameters, taste and convenience, and it wasn't getting me anywhere. So I'm not saying taste is not paramount. Food can be tasty, but we can just get the right things on our plate. So if you look at the science, so if you look at carbs, they give you vitamins, minerals, fiber, and they are fuel sources, right? If you look at fats, yes, a fuel source, but also protection. Then if you look at proteins, building blocks in our body, we know this as definitions, but how do we bring it to reality in our kitchen? Whether I'm ordering out or I'm socializing or I'm from different parts of the country, vegetarian, non-vegetarian. I may be an Indian, I may be from any part of the world. You can't defy science, right? If I heat a certain object, it has to turn into certain things. It doesn't matter which part of the world. So I get people saying that, I should eat like how my grandmother ate, but we changed the soil. We changed our agricultural practices, and we have to take that into consideration. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And while we're in conversation, I have this very famous Michelin star chef, Mr. Nishant Chaube, who has just come on and watching our conversation. Nishantji, thank you for joining the conversation. He's a Michelin star chef and
Okay.
a chef whom I have personally worked with. So I know
Well,
he is fantastic. He does not even leave the any chilka to waste. Also, total
okay.
yeah, he just conserves everything. And I'm sure he might have a few takes on today's conversation if he sticks
Sure.
on. But thank
Yeah.
you, Nishanji, for joining. It is a pleasure for me today that you are in today's conversation. So, yes, very rightly explained, what you just said about the connectivity with food, science, and our body. But then tell me one thing, why are Indians so obsessed with carbohydrates, which is very important? Why do we love carbs, and or sometimes we avoid them?
Yeah.
Should we eat carbs? But I think Indians love carbohydrates. So what's your
Yeah.
take on it?
I love carbohydrates too. And I think, look,
Well, on me, you can see carbohydrates, my love. Tell me.
carbs are taste. I mean, I always say this: you want something to taste good, just fry it, and it's going to taste really nice. But look,
Absolutely.
the reason why all of us, and it's not just Indians, I think it's world over, carbs are really liked because of the taste. I mean, they taste good. And also, they are your go-to foods. When you're feeling out and down, you want to eat something rich in carbs. When you're feeling cold, when you want to celebrate. So there's nothing wrong with carbs. I find that they are the new villains on the block. It used to be fats a few years ago, 5 or 10 years ago. You asked anyone, hey, I want to get healthy, what do I avoid? And it used to be fats. Now it's carbs. But carbs are needed. They give you your vitamins, your minerals, your fiber. It's a fuel source. The challenge with our Indian diet is we eat too much of it, and our choices are wrong. So if I can throw some light on it, look, if you look at examples of carbs, and I know all of you are rattling them off, rice and potato always fight for the first place. And then you have your pasta and your maida and your cereals, grains. But even your fruit, vegetable, and salads are carbs. Okay. Now, all carbs, when you eat them, will convert to sugar in your bloodstream, all of them. But not all carbohydrates are the same. Some will convert to sugar really fast and cause a sugar spike. And the body hates to lose any form of energy, takes that entire spike and stores it as fat. While there are other carbs that will convert to sugar slowly, they'll go in through that mosquito net, if you remember it, and they'll burn in that furnace. Now, when I heard this, I was like, okay, so I want to eat the ones that convert to sugar slowly. How do
Absolutely.
I find them in my kitchen? Okay, so
Absolutely.
that's the tip for you. If you're eating upma, semia, poha, idli dosa batter bought from the market, chapati atta with only wheat flour in it, these convert to sugar really fast, and they're called simple carbohydrates. So anything that's polished will convert to sugar like this. Okay,
Okay.
so I used to think home cooked is the best. Home cooked is clean, but my choices need to be tweaked.
Right.
So that's why people are talking about millets nowadays. If you have ragi, bajra, jawar, these are very high in fiber and breaks down slowly into sugar. So we can have our chapatis and parathas, but in our atta, can we mix some ragi, bajra, jawar? I'd be very happy to share the ratio. And also idli dosa batter. Like if you're not making it at home, you're buying it from outside. Can you add some ragi atta to it? Did you know cornflakes are simple carbohydrates? They'll convert to sugar immediately. Okay, but oats are very good. Not the masala oats, the ones that you have to cook. They're good. So your fruit as well. I mean, don't snack on fruit because fruit is also a carbohydrate. It'll cause a sugar spike. Eat your fruit in portion sizes. I get people saying, just wanted to eat light. I had a fruit bowl for breakfast. Too much sugar. 1 teacup of cut fruit, a small portion of a large fruit eaten at the start of your meal, followed by the rest of the meal. That sugar spike, the body is able to absorb it. Yeah. And your vegetables are good carbs, your salads are good carbs, but don't overcook the vegetables. Tomato soup and toast, that was me. Light dinner, tomato soup and toast. But I've taken that poor tomato, which was a good carbohydrate, I sent it through a pressure cooker, sent it through a mixie. What I've got is sugar, and the body loves it because it doesn't have to do any work. It just gets the sugars, uses it, and doesn't use stored fat.
Are you
So
trying to say that soups are actually not healthy?
no, soups are good. Soups are very good. But, try the ones which are clear soups and shredded vegetables and your meats and all of that go into it. Those are better instead of making these, what I call slushy soups, where you take a pumpkin and then, anything that you're going to pressure cook and send through a mixie and stuff. What you've done is you've broken the fibers, which the body should work on breaking down. Yeah. So
How would you put instead of a mixie, instead of making a juice out of it, if we just lightly saute it, is that
lovely,
that's
lovely. That's
really
really good. That's a good thing to do. Shredding, sauteing, blanching, all these are good. You can do all of that. Retains the nutrition, retains the fiber, most importantly. Yeah, makes sense?
So that is very interesting what you said, Namita, that whether it is the atta that we are having, if we are adding a
Yeah,
small portion of ragi, jawar, bajra,
yeah,
and
yeah,
making a healthy atta instead of the whole wheat atta, it's better,
yeah,
slower process to turning into sugar. And
yes,
same when we are making the batters. So yes, I would request you, once we are done with today's conversation, you'll
yeah,
be able to find the video on my timeline, and if you
yeah.
could leave the recipe of a dosa batter,
Yes,
like a multi batter for idli, dosa, uttapam, and also for any concoction for the atta from which we
yeah,
can make chapatis. So I think the viewers will be able to access that from the timeline, and it's going
yeah,
to be very, very helpful. So yes,
sure.
as you just said very correctly, that carbohydrates are, in a way, we can concentrate in two areas: one which break down very fast
Yeah,
for the sugar, and the one which is slow. And it's okay to consume the sugar which is which is catered to slowly. But tell me, in the morning when we are starting a day, and also
mhm,
pre and post workout, most
yeah,
of us are like for the morning workout, and also how we start a day is something which I really want to ask you. There's so many, numerous thoughts on it. Start with
yeah,
2 glasses of water, empty stomach,
yeah.
have some soaked methi water in the early morning, have chia seeds water early in the empty stomach, then you have something. I'm totally confused. So first, I would want you to tell us about pre and post workout, and
Sure.
also how should we actually start our day.
Yeah. Look, I would say start your day on a positive note. That's better than any nutrition. That's like really, really important with your pre and post workout. And that's something that I wanted to speak about. And, I thought we could spend some time on that if we have the time. If you're looking at getting your body to be an efficient fuel burner, you want to release energy, you want your body to burn stored fat, pick up your metabolism. Really important to start to have something rich in protein before your workout. If you're really lean and you don't have any fat reserves, then you could do protein with some complex carbohydrate, like a small portion of fruit and something rich in protein. And something rich in protein, I just want all of us to know that your dal, chana, rajma, sprouts are not proteins. They are carbohydrates. They have a lot of protein in them, but the body absorbs very little. Okay, so they're not bad food. But when you eat dal, please don't call it a protein. It's a carbohydrate. If you eat a chilka wala dal, unpolished dal, then you've eaten good carbohydrate. Yeah. Okay. But must have something rich in protein before and something rich in protein after your workout. If you have something rich in protein before your workout, you'll burn stored fat. And after workout, it's very good for muscle recovery. Yeah. And that's what I would do. That's what I
And for
would
the
do.
ones that you said, the ones who have to burn the stored fat, we start just with the protein. And then
Yeah.
post the workout, we can add some sort of a carb to our diet.
Post workout, you're having your breakfast. Your typical breakfast should be you start with a portion of fruit. Citrus fruits are really, really good. But I mean, all fruits, the ones that, I mean, if you're looking at dropping weight, I would avoid mango, chiku, sitafal, mashmelon. And I think that's something we all know. These are high sugar fruits with very high glycemic index. But you want to eat the low GI fruits, low glycemic. Don't go for calorie counting. Go for something called glycemic index, which relates to the rate at which these foods convert to sugar. So I my typical plate, my typical breakfast every morning is 3 eggs, 1 egg yolk, 3 egg whites, and I'd have a multigrain chapati with it, even a paratha or a slice of multigrain bread and butter. Yeah. If it's a really tough workout, then it'll be fruit, 3 eggs, and the multigrain. Yeah.
So what about for the vegans who are not into, I would
Look,
not say vegans, but
paneer parathas, good. Paneer parathas are good. I mean, if you're in the north, it's fantastic. You can do your, but just make sure your atta has multigrain. Okay. So even if you're buying multigrain atta from outside, add your own ragi or bajra, jawar, whichever part of the country you are in and what's accessible. And make a paratha. Paneer is good. You get soya chunks are really good. Tofu paneer. These are really, really good proteins. Yeah. And if you're in the south, I know we all do dosas, so you can make a dosa and you can, grate your paneer on it. And okay, so by the way, Vaijanti, I can't cook for nuts. Okay, so I'm giving you all these ideas. Don't take any recipes from me. Sunil, my husband, is the cook, but I know what needs to go in. But you make it tasty.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So before we move to the next question, I want to complete this one small part, which I don't want to miss out. As you said, that fruits have quite a lot of carbohydrates, and just having a fruit meal is not something that you feel that you
Yeah.
are feeling light, but at the end of the day, you are consuming a lot of carbohydrates.
Yeah.
How much of fruit, and especially this question I have regards to children, how much of fruits is it okay to give it away to children every day? And can we give combination of fruits?
Yeah, look, combination of fruits are good for children. The story is different. Okay, because kids can actually have quite a bit of fruit, but this is something good to do. Like if you're giving a child a fruit, give them fruit with something rich in protein. Okay, not just fruit alone. Do fruit and protein. You know, pineapple and cheese,
Right.
apple and cheese is good. I mean, cheese is good. Depending on, okay, if you're looking at dropping weight, I just have about a cube of cheese. Avoid cheese slices. The cubes are much better. You know, the
Right.
solid cheese is much better.
Right.
But getting your child into that habit of, you know, fruit bhi chahiye, and with that a piece of cheese is good. I mean, kids can snack on fruit as long as you do a fruit and protein combination. It's good. You can give them curd, you know, give them a lassi with fruit. It's good. And but for us, if you're looking at us adults, I would say with every meal, if you just had 1 teacup of cut fruit, and I'm talking about a 150-gram teacup, 150 ml, not the big coffee mugs, or a portion. So if you have a large apple, half an apple, a small one, the whole thing is fine. Citrus fruits, you can have an entire orange. Yeah, so I would do that before every meal. So you can have about, yeah, 3 fruits, different varieties, combined fruits, all that is fine. Yeah.
Great. So, audience, over here, I am in conversation with Namita Ruthnaswamy, an agricultural scientist, and she's actually changing our outlook towards food. And what I like is she is giving us an intro perspective towards good carbohydrates and slow and fast carbohydrates, even with proteins. So, yes, if you have any questions for Namita, please leave it. All for the Zoom, my friends who are on the Zoom, please leave it in the chat box and I'll ask Namita, or the live audience on the Facebook can leave it in the comment box and I'll pick it up from there and ask Namita towards the end of the session. And yes, there is another question which I can see, and I'm going to address to it very shortly with Namita. But Namita, I want to ask you about the food groups and a little more light on the word protein, and to tell us about the different food groups. Because as you said that ordering outside, staying in a social circle, and
Yeah.
living up to so many social expectations, and I should say even in a hybrid lives that we are in now, how conscious do we need to get about these food groups? What exactly they are? Because somewhere I've forgotten down the line from my school days. That gives you a clear reflection on my age, but I don't want to tell you. So yes, going back to food groups and your thoughts on protein.
Yeah, thanks, Vaijanti. One of my favorite topics. And before we move off carbs, there's just one thing I want to tell you is that, you know, we are all looking at increasing our immunity and everyone's worried about the virus. Well, if you have sugar spikes, that's a lot of sugar in your system. Bacteria and viruses love to feed on sugar. So if you're eating simple carbohydrates converting to sugar, it doesn't matter if you're not drinking sugar in your tea or coffee. You know, so I get people saying, I don't drink sugar in my tea or coffee. But they're eating all the wrong carbs, not going to work. So change over to complex carbs, and it's really not that difficult. It's just tweaking it, and you can start to make a change over there. With proteins, again, we Indians have won some international awards, which is we get the lowest quality and the poorest lowest quantity and the poorest quality of protein. Okay, so when I was told that, I was like, okay, so where do we start? So let's get started. And we need, see, the body can't store protein. And everything that you see in the mirror, everything is made up of protein. Everything, your tissues, your enzymes, your hair, skin, everything. Your heart is a muscle, it's made up of protein. But do we consciously know how much we need and how much are we eating, right? So you need 1 gram minimum per kg of body weight every day. Like the body can't store it. You can't say I've eaten protein today, so I'll eat it day after tomorrow. So if I'm 60 kgs, I need 60 grams All right. Now, I'll rattle off some figures and see if you can keep up with me, and let's just assess what you ate yesterday. Okay. Ready for this? So let's see how much protein you ate yesterday. You know your weight. We'll just do this quick assessment. If you ate an egg yesterday, you got 6 grams. All right. Only yesterday. If you drank a big mug of milk, you got 3 grams. If you ate a cube of cheese, you got about 4. Dahi, one bowl of curd, you got about 4 to 5 grams. Then if you ate any of the meats, if you ate 100 grams, you got 20 grams. And if you ate paneer, soya chunks, tofu, if you ate 100 grams of that, you got 20 grams. If you do an assessment, how much protein did you eat? Chances are you didn't eat as much as your body weight. And I do these assessments day in and day out, and I'd be happy to share this assessment with you. I get, on a good day, I'll get 20 grams. Okay, but I'm still to meet an adult Indian that weighs 20 kgs. You know what I'm saying? There's a huge, there's a huge protein gap. And I get people asking me, so how do I know if I'm not eating enough protein? So here are the manifestations. If you're sitting there and you've got a sweet tooth, you don't have enough protein, you're not eating enough protein. A sweet tooth is a manifestation of a protein gap. If your hair's falling, your skin's not looking the way you want it to, if you're looking older than what you are, you've got a protein gap. If, in the afternoons, that nap has become mandatory. Women, especially after the age of 40, if there's mobility issues, it's not genetic. I get a lot of women telling me, my knees hurt, but it's genetic. No, it's just, let's look at the protein that you're eating. Mood swings, hormonal changes. And also, I see the syndrome where a person is slim, but they have a bulging tummy. It doesn't have to be a big paunch, but just that tummy flab, not enough protein. And if you're the kind of person who only loses weight when you gym, when you exercise, when you do something intense, but when you stop, all that weight comes back, well, you never built muscle. And your body can't build muscle if you're not eating enough protein. Okay, so if you're gymming or if you're working out and you're not eating enough protein, your body is constantly eating muscle. But otherwise also, you don't have to be working out, because whether you're working out or not, everyone has a heart, right? And we want our heart to be beating. So how much protein have you fed your heart today? Yeah. So what we have looked at is, since the start of this year, when the pandemic struck, people were focusing and are still focusing on the deaths due to COVID. But the deaths due to heart disease have been higher. Okay. And that's a reflection of our, I would say, poor nutritional status, and especially proteins. We've got to look at proteins. You've got to eat it. And be deliberate about it. So on a plate, if you're looking at a typical plate, now if someone asks me what's a typical plate, you've got to have a representation of fruit, vegetables cooked the way you want, of course not overcooked, salad, so have lettuce, have cabbage, have cucumber, and something rich in protein, and a multigrain. It could be millets, it could be a chapati or paratha, but all of that needs to be there on your plate. Okay, and protein is something I find people need to get deliberate about, because if you look at it, you'd have maybe got your fruit right, your vegetable right, even your multigrain right. But 9 out of 10 people just miss out on protein. There's just no protein on their plate, or very little.
If I may intrude, are you trying to say that can we include the unpolished rice in unpolished dals in it?
Yes, but that's your carbohydrate. That's your carbohydrate, not the protein.
Okay, but what other than multigrain, breads, or what else can we, for vegetarians specifically, Namita, what can we add to build on that protein?
Look, when you're looking at protein, and this is something that we'll have to start to learn to eat, because traditionally, if you look at it, say about 80, 90, 100 years ago, in our Indian diet, the protein source used to be rice and wheat. That's where our protein used to come from. But we commercialized it. Those are the biggest commercial crops. And today they don't carry any protein. They don't even carry enough vitamins, minerals, and fiber. It's sugar that they carry, right? Now, if we change that, you've got to learn how to eat things like, and make it tasty, okay? Things like your soya chunks, okay, or soya granules, your tofu paneer, okay? And I get vegetarians saying, look, we're not used to it. I know it's tough, but you've got to cultivate that habit. Start small, include it in different ways, try and get innovative with it. But you need it. Your body needs it. And, the body does jugaad, and there's never a good ending to jugaad. Never. Yeah.
Absolutely. Can you name few other food which can be beneficial in terms of taking in the healthy proteins every day. You talked about tofu, you talked about paneer, you talked about tofu paneer, you talked about multigrain.
Veg-
Anything? Yeah,
Yeah. So multigrain is a carbohydrate.
yeah.
So all these have a little amount of protein, but they're not really protein foods. So
Okay.
for vegetarians, and also you can look at curd, home set curd. That's good to include. Milk has a little bit of protein. Cheese cubes, that's good. But when you're looking at bulk of your food, when you're going to cook it, I would say, look, get deliberate and start to include things like, for vegetarians, soya chunks, tofu paneer, and paneer. You've
Again, there might be a dilemma for the ones who are lactose resistant. I had this question from one of
yeah,
the viewers right now who wanted to actually ask this, and I thought I would, because it's interrelated. So, hence, I would pour in this question right now where she asks that if you are lacto intolerant, then
yeah.
what? So, then your choices become very minimalized.
You've got soya chunks, you've got tofu, and tofu paneer. Well, look, you'll. So the thing is, it sounds very absolute, but I would really encourage you to start including these. Maybe you're not going to do the 100 grams every meal, but even a little bit, and you'll start to see the difference. When you start to see the difference, when it's tasty, and don't do it as a punishment, don't do it as a medication. Have fun with it. I mean, talk to someone like a Vaijayanti who's so good at cooking, and start to incorporate these foods. But I think we owe this to ourselves, the responsibility of giving our body. See, you need to give your body what it needs, and then the body is going to do what it needs to do. Okay. And when these gaps are so large, we start to compromise.
And
Health
as
is,
we're talking about proteins, Namita, I would like to take this question again from this viewer because it's about protein and we're talking about dals as well. So the
yeah.
question is, are you saying that dals are a not good source of a protein?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that if you look at it, 100 grams of raw dal will give you 10 grams of available protein. Okay. Now, for a family of four, you're going to cook about 100 grams of raw dal. You divvy that amongst four people, you're getting about 2.5 grams of protein per person. So, one katori of cooked dal will give you about 3 grams of protein, but 35 grams of carbohydrate.
Yeah,
And another name for carbohydrate is sugars. Now,
absolutely.
am I saying dal is bad? Not at all. Dal plays a role, but I'd be happy calling it a carbohydrate. And if it's not polished, because if you're eating polished dals, then you're just eating simple sugars. Yeah. Look, go back 100 years, all these, I think, had a lot more protein. But if you look at our dals, if you look at rice, if you look at wheat, these are our highest commercial crops. Genetic modifications, hybridization. When you go down that path, all of this goes out of the window.
So you
Yeah.
are still saying that the chilkawana dals are
Is
best to consume, though they
Yeah,
will have proteins, but in minimal quantity. More
yeah,
towards carbs is what we can,
yeah,
group
yeah. They're
them
good
as.
carbs. They're
But
good carbs.
and
Yeah,
here we are when we say, our grandmas used to say you must have a katori of dal each day because they're so rich in protein. Until today, I was
yeah,
of that same notion that
yeah,
dals are proteins.
yeah, yeah. Look, when you look at what our grandmothers used to say, were they wrong? No, they were not. Because look at agriculture then and look at agriculture now, look at soil. I mean, you can't ignore that fact. And I find a lot of people have just overlooked that. And you can't. I mean, that's what's coming to our kitchens, that's what's coming onto our plates. But yeah, I mean, some of this information, when I was introduced to it for the first time, it takes a little while to get it into your head,
No,
because
I think it is
yeah,
important because see, we don't take these areas into consideration,
yeah,
which is the growth of these lentils, the
yeah,
procession, the entire how it's actually reached our homes, what metamorphosis they've gone, the
yeah,
changes, the hybrids, as you're talking, and to that there is a very interesting comment coming from our viewer who says that no wonder East Asians do not have lentils.
yeah,
So that is
yeah,
very, yeah, that is something which is interesting. So you
yeah.
were talking about the food groups.
Yeah, yeah. Look, what I would say is, don't eliminate anything totally.
Right.
I like dal. I mean, I like eating dal and things. Eat it, but don't call it a protein.
Mm.
That's the awareness that one needs. That, when I'm eating dal, let me know, and I need to know in my mind that, hey, listen, I'm eating a carbohydrate. I've eaten so much of sugar. Can I eat a, salad? Can I eat a lot of cabbage with this? Can I eat a lot of cucumber with this? Because then the rate at which it converts to sugar comes down. You've got to help your body with it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Would you like to share some more light on the food groups that we were talking about?
Yeah. Look, we covered proteins and we covered carbs. There's another thing that's very interesting is fats. So we do need fats, and fats are really important because your cell membrane, 75% of that is made up of fats, and it's also a fuel source. You need at least 2 tablespoons per day, Vaijanti. For an adult, I would say at least 2 tablespoons. Now, the challenge in India is over the last, I think, 70, 80 years, most of us have shifted to cooking in vegetable oils or
Yeah.
seed-based oils, right? And the problem there is these oils are unsaturated, unstable. And what do we do in our Indian cooking? We heat them to very high temperatures.
Absolutely.
Okay. So here's the thumb rule: any oil coming from a seed, a cereal, or a grain, if you can remember that, anything, seed, cereal, grain, because I get asked questions: how's gingerly, how's rice bran? So seed, cereal, grain. When you heat these to high temperatures, two things happen here. They go through chemical changes which may not be too favorable, but they also get hydrogenated, and you have hydrogenated fat. And if I may use brand names, hydrogenated fat is nothing but your dalda and vanaspati. Now, what does that do in our body? It blocks that mosquito net, the cell membrane. It's like taking porridge and rubbing it on a very clean fly screen or a mosquito net. And these sugars, you remember the food converting to sugar, the carbs, they lie around in the bloodstream, and the body takes all of that and stores it as fat again. So when you have people saying, I don't eat too much, but my fat is just stuck, or I'm just feeling sluggish and tired, this is one of the reasons. So the three fats that are safest for our Indian cooking that do not hydrogenate at high temperatures are ghee, coconut oil, and butter. So for the last 20 plus years, we've cooked everything in ghee, last couple of years in coconut oil as well. Yeah. And that's really, really important to understand, because look, this triggers off, once that cell membrane is blocked, it triggers off a condition called metabolic syndrome. Again, I won't go into the details of that. That will require another hour, but look it up. All of us need to look up metabolic syndrome. It's lifestyle diseases happening in a cluster. Okay, so you get, let's say a friend calls you and says, when for a, I got my blood work done, cholesterol levels are high. A week later, the same friend says, I'm also borderline diabetic. You're not sending her flowers anymore, because, we are so used to hearing this. But why is it happening to the one person, all these things? Because this is what triggers it off: what you eat and how you exercise, metabolic syndrome. So if you've heard of conditions like PCOD, hypothyroidism, anxiety, fatty liver, all right, heart disease, rheumatoid arthritis, these are the common triggers: the lack of protein, eating simple carbs, and the wrong fats. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Make sense?
And also because most of our, as you said, our Indian style of cooking involves frying or very high heat. So for
High
that,
heat. Yeah.
ghee and butter
Yeah.
and coconut oil is
Yeah.
something which
It's
fits.
best. I mean, there's no point cooking in olive oil, because when you heat olive oil, the omega-3 is gone, and it also partially hydrogenates. And very honestly, what's tastier, ghee or olive oil, Vaijanti? What do you like?
Ghee. My heart goes out for ghee. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
But olive oil can be drizzled. It can be drizzled raw, extra virgin
absolutely.
oil. Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. So
yeah,
fats is something again that is something I do understand, specifically when you say that even if you're eating less, you don't tend to shed weight if you are
no,
looking at weight loss, because
yeah,
something is going wrong, and then you
yes,
blame, or you get mentally very retarded
yeah,
because you are putting in your 100% and you see
yeah,
that the scales are not moving, and that's because maybe whatever you are eating maybe not the right thing.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe you can eat more, but change
yeah,
what you are eating.
yeah. You can eat unlimited quantities of salad with protein in it. You'll be great and good to go.
Next
But you
time,
eat
Amrita, she's
unlimited
gonna see half
carbohydrate.
my size, okay? So now that I know you, viewers, commitment, now you're going to see me half my size because I know this
Yes.
agricultural scientist sitting across me. So she's going to do wonders. Take me up as your, as your
Right.
specification. Yeah, yeah. Fantastic, Namita. So we talked about protein, we talked about fats, we talked about carbohydrates. Now what?
Yeah. So now we've got vitamins and minerals,
Yeah.
and let's do this quickly, because I'm sure the viewers must be falling asleep. This is a lot of science.
Yeah.
So I asked this family, and there were little kids, where do vitamins and minerals come from? And this little girl said, from tablets. And I was like, okay. So your vitamins and minerals come from fruits, vegetables, and herbs, and they're micronutrients. And we all know, the science behind it, that we really need it. So what's happening with us over here is that if you look at what WHO says, this is a serving size, your fist is a serving size, and you need anywhere between 9 to 11 serving sizes of fruit and vegetable per day per person. Now listen to this, Vaijayanti. 5 different colors, okay, organic, preferable, eaten within half an hour of plucking, possible. Okay, and that's because there's a nutritional leak, from the time you harvest and the time you eat it. And we are all urban dwellers,
Right.
Fresh hair is a question we ask the person who's selling it to us, and the answer is yes, it's anybody's guess. But do we stop eating fruit and vegetables? No, eat a variety, eat a lot, but just know you're not getting enough. And on the other side, the soil is abused. So recent studies have shown things like spinach has about 60 to 70% less iron than it did 30 years ago. And how many of us eat palak for iron? Eat it. So as the time is going by and the soil nutrition is coming down, and also our cooking practices and things, vitamins and minerals, I would certainly suggest eat a variety. Don't overcook your fruit and vegetables. I mean, don't eat seedless and overripe fruit. Try and eat seasonal. And also study the science of supplementing. Do that with responsibility, because vitamins and minerals are a key. Yeah.
So supplements are okay, according to you, to take if they're taken under a guidance.
Under guidance,
Yes.
ever use a supplement to substitute food. What
Right.
you can get from your food, there are no shortcuts, you must, but there are certain nutritional gaps. And so if anyone's interested in supplements, I mean, you have to reach out to someone who really, really knows. Don't just buy it across a counter or through an ad, because the source matters. If the soil doesn't have enough nutrition, your supplement's just not going to have enough. And as it is, we're dealing with all of this. So yeah, there's a place for supplements. I totally agree with that. But be careful with how you choose them. Do it wisely. Yeah.
Absolutely. So yes, we do understand the food groups, and also a very important guideline which you've shared with us today is to be conscious about these food groups, because we just know them as protein, carbs, and fats, and minerals and vitamins, but we have to understand how much we are consuming, and
Yeah.
and which is and how, especially in terms of carbs or the choice of our protein and all, matters a lot in terms of maintaining that lifestyle. Another thing which is of concern, I think, which is very important, and a general take I would like of yours, Namita, is what are the few things to keep in mind when we are planning a meal?
Look, I think the formula should be there. The awareness that is fruit represented on my plate? Is vegetable represented on my plate? Is there salad on my plate? Is there a multigrain, carb on my plate? And is there protein? If you can answer these 5 questions, and I'm not even talking about quantity on this platform, but and obviously you want to keep the multigrain and the carb. The multigrain coming, the carb coming from the multigrain to be in limited portion size, because you're getting your carbs from fruit, vegetable, and salad. But that's a formula. You have to eat all 5 food groups. Please don't get onto any program which avoids any of the food groups or eats too much of one and too little of the next, because your body needs it. Your body needs all 5 food groups, but make the choices wisely. Yeah.
Absolutely, because there are a lot of diets which are
Yeah.
on, like keto and all, which are either high on some or low on some, and you see so many repercussions
Yeah.
happening later. You have gut
Yeah.
issues, you have so many different
Yeah.
issues which pop up. Yes, so
Yeah.
definitely, and in the times that we are in now, Namita, we have like hypothyroidism or
Yeah.
PCOD, type 2 diabetes. These are very concerned, diseases which are, as you said, very frequent now. Uh, what are your thoughts on uh, like catering? Like, I'm not talking about before. Like, once you are in a
Yeah.
process of a PCOD or a type 2 diabetes, what sort of a diet you should think of? I know
Well,
it's different from person to person, age to
yeah.
age, but we are talking on a more general point of view.
Look, just what I've been speaking about, if you've already got these conditions, and even if you don't, but if you've got these conditions, the one thing to start off with is change your cooking medium. Okay, get off those vegetable oils because they are pro-inflammatory. Make sure you have something rich in protein with high fiber. That is your thumb rule. Rich in protein with high fiber, rich in protein, high fiber. Smaller meals, don't have large gaps between your meals. Okay, so girls, every 2.5 to 3 hours, men, you've got to eat every 2 to 2.5 hours. The gap goes longer. The next meal you eat, the body is going to store it as fat, regardless. We get into starvation mode. So make sure you're walking. Okay, at least 7 to 8 kilometers from the time you wake up till the time you sleep. All right, because you want to get that mobility going. But in terms of your food, cook in ghee, coconut oil, or butter. Now I sound like one of those, giving you a formula. Have something rich in protein with high fiber. Get that going. Drink water, 2 to 3 liters of water a day, and and have a positive mental attitude. It sounds very easy to say that, but associate with people who are also moving in the same direction. But the minute you get that formula right, I find with type 2 diabetes, PCOD, hypothyroidism, they're all metabolic syndromes. And the trigger is the same. It's your diet. You have to correct it. Low GI carbohydrates, that means carbohydrates that convert to sugar slowly. That's high fiber. That could be a fruit, vegetables, multigrain, unpolished. Protein, the sources that we discussed, and salad. I mean, cucumber, and not just 3 pieces of cucumber with lots of onions and tomatoes, like literally eating 1 cucumber in a meal. And doing that will start to help. Yeah.
Yes, viewers, here I am in talk with the agricultural scientist Namita Ruthinaswamy, and Namita is going to be leaving her contact details on the Facebook window. But yes, I would like her to please share a few details about her. She's a health coach, and you can reach out to her on Instagram. And definitely, the one who wants to reach out to her through me, I'll be very happy to share her number with everyone.
Yeah.
And yes, Namita, where can people reach you if they want to know more about their diets and connect to you regarding any particular issue?
I'd be really happy if you WhatsApp me. I'm a WhatsApp person. So if you send me a WhatsApp, and Vaijayanti, would you share my number, or should I just rattle it?
No, it's all right. I will share it, but you can just say it also. It's not.
Yeah, so my number is 9740 556123. So if you haven't got it, Vaijayanti will give it to you. But just WhatsApp me. And in fact, this Sunday at 5 p.m., I'm running a very exclusive session. It's a Zoom session where I'm going to go through the details, and I offer a 6-week program. I'll be explaining that, how that program works. So everything I spoke about comes into a program, and it helps you correct your metabolism. So those of you who would like to attend that session, just send me a WhatsApp. I'll send you a Zoom link, or through Facebook or Instagram, you can leave me a message. But yeah, it'll be really lovely to connect, and I'd love some feedback. And Vaijayanti, I hope this was helpful. I can get very carried away when talking about all of this.
No, absolutely not. And yes, friends, do reach out to Namita. She is very skilled at this. Her knowledge into the integral zones of the cell, which she calls it the net, and then the furnace, and then the smiley. The way she talks about one single cell is amazing. So yes, if you have any other questions, you can please leave it in the Zoom chat or in the comment box on the Facebook. But yes, Namita, I have a few questions for you already. One being, how good are tea and coffee?
Well, look, I love tea and coffee. So in moderation, they are fine. 3 cups of tea or coffee cups, I'm not talking about mugs, in a day is all right. And try and, do the sugar in moderation. Don't overdo it. So they are okay. But if you go beyond 3 cups, then an extra liter of water you're going to need.
Again, the second question is pertaining to water. There are a lot of, again, myths and dialogues about how many liters of water each day. Some even go to the extent of saying don't have too much of water, as it might disrupt your kidney functions. What is your take on the water consumption?
Look, 70% of your body is made up of water. The most important thing is you've got to drink water before you're thirsty. Get used to that idea. And 2 to 3 liters of water per day. That's what you need, minimum. Yeah. And I find most of us, there are lots of us who drink good quantities of water. Living in Bangalore, I wasn't doing more than 1 liter because you don't get thirsty. But yeah, at least 2 to 3 liters of water, and sip on it right through the day. Yeah.
Another question is that how much I did ask you this, but again, the facade towards organic microgreens, are they just
Yeah.
page three facades? Uh,
I think so. I think, look, there's a place for it because organic is actually good. But should you get totally anal about it? Look, enjoy life, be flexible, okay? And where you can afford to, where you're getting it, good, get organic because it's free of harmful chemicals, okay? And you like microgreens, eat them. Yeah.
is your take on the grandma recipes, which were actually more wholesome, very Indian, full of ghee, butter,
Yeah.
masalas, home cooked? What is your take on grandma recipes?
Look, I think grandma recipes are really good. I enjoy my grandmom's cooking, but get the formula right. You know, get the recipes there, but get the formula right. So if the recipe requires atta, then make sure your atta is multigrain and high fiber. You get the idea, like, do it sensibly, use the recipe, but yeah, and at times, look, you've got to abuse your carbs and enjoy your food, but you need to know what to do with the next meal, which is protein and high fiber. Yeah.
Okay, this concept of curd being the friendly bacteria, how much of it is true that we
It
must
is.
have?
Yeah, it is true because curd, especially curd set at home, it has some good probiotics. It's fermented food, easier to digest, good for your gut. And yeah, eat curd. You like curd, eat it. At least 2 to 3, bowls of curd in a day is really good for you. Yeah.
Great, great. That's fantastic. So yes, I think I would like to not take any more questions now, but leave it for people to connect with you directly
Sure.
because I think Namita, it's been a fab session because till now I had a myths like dal. Uh, Grouping it more into a protein
Yeah.
rather than a carbohydrate. I had myths about starting my day, pre and post workouts. So yes, there have been taking back, especially with fruits too. That
Yeah.
fruits also have a lot of carbs in it, and the amount of fruits that we are consuming has to be taken into account. And same with
Yeah.
soup. I always thought that soup and toast are the best and the lightest of the meal,
Yes.
but again, something which is dominantly not healthy, I should
Yeah.
say, because as you said that we have to have and understand our meals from a more scientific point of view as to what they are
Yeah.
doing to your body. So yes, that's amazing, and I'm sure your session on Sunday at 5 p.m. Is going to
Yeah.
be fantastic. And viewers, if you want to connect for that particular session, please, I would share Namita's number on the comment box on the Facebook, and you can pick it up from there and message and WhatsApp her, and she will add you and send you the Zoom link for the session. And it's been a great session today. And I always believe that. Food is just more that, as you said, enjoy life, Namita, because
Yeah.
for most of us, food is just not nutrition. It's everything, it's social, it's how we bond, how we share our ideas, and how we spend our time with our families. And
Yes.
the way you said, Vajanti, what is our heart made of? It's made of proteins. Like for me, the heart is just made with love. And it's filled more with love because of the immense knowledge you've shared
Yeah.
with us today, Namita. So thank you so very much. It was a
Most
very,
well.
very helpful session. And I'm sure your forthcoming sessions are going to share more insight about how we can actually put our entire metabolism in place,
Yeah.
because it is so important where we are static also in a way in our lives now, and so
Yeah.
many these lifestyle diseases popping up, wherein most of the times we get into this facade of all these different diets, and not keeping in mind that all the 5 elements of the food groups has to be taken into account even when we are trying to lose weight. That
Yeah.
is so very important. So many things you've shared with us as from a more scientific approach towards food. So thank you so much for that.
Most
And I
well.
wish you great sessions in the future. And a lot of people, I'm sure, are going to gain a lot of knowledge from today and from all your forthcoming sessions. So thank you, everyone, for joining me today. And thank you, Namita, for taking out
Most well.
time today to be with me and all the viewers.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here. And anytime that I can help, do let me know. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you all very shortly. And yes, I'm leaving Namita's contact details on the Facebook window, and you can pick it up from there. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Have a great night. Bye.
Take